Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
The mitzvah of looking at one's tzitzis. We are all aware that there is a positive command in the Torah listed as one of the 613 mitzvahs, that a person is to place tzitzis on a four-cornered garment that he wears, and that it is biblically forbidden to wear a four-cornered garment without kosher tzitzis attached to them. Many, however, are unaware that there is an additional positive command associated with tzitzis that can be fulfilled at any moment that you are wearing them. A number of Rishonim, in their list of the 613 mitzvahs, list two positive commands in the mitzvah of tzitzis. One, of course, is the positive command of placing tzitzis to a four-cornered garment, and the second is a positive command to look at the tzitzis. In the words of the verse, Uda isem oisoi, uzchartem. And they learn that this mitzvah of looking at your tzitzis in order to remember the mitzvahs of Hashem is an additional positive command that's listed as part of the 613. As the essential purpose of wearing tzitzis is to remember all of Hashem's mitzvahs, and that is only accomplished when you look at the tzitzis. And therefore we find in the Arizal and Shar Kavanis that he writes that one is required to look at his tzitzis at every moment possible. And that's why there are many Torah leaders and tzaddikim that were accustomed to look at their tzitzis at every opportunity. In the Sefer Shmiras Haloshin, he writes that one is to look at his tzitzis a few times a day, especially when one feels forbidden thoughts coming to his mind or feelings of anger. The Kavayasha writes that there's a tradition amongst men of piety that at the times that they are sitting idle, then they touch their tzitzis and look at them, thus fulfilling this mitzvah. Based on this, the Kaf HaChaim concludes, as written in the Paiskim, that whenever you look at your tzitzis, you should have in mind to fulfill the positive mitzvah of the Isa Meisai and remember the mitzvahs that we have to fulfill. There are a number of Segulos associated with touching the tzitzis or looking at the tzitzis, as we will discuss in a further lesson. In the previous day halacha, we discussed the mitzvah, and according to some Rishonim, the mitzvah's essay in looking at one's tzitzis, in order to remember Hashem's mitzvahs. Today we will discuss a number of Segulos that are associated with looking at the tzitzis or holding the tzitzis as brought in the Paiskim and in other Chassidish Sfarim. An interesting relation we find in the Paiskim is between the mitzvah of tzitzis and anger. The Shloach Kodesh writes that the word kanaf, which means corner, is the same gematria as the word kas. And looking at one's tzitzis has ability to extinguish the flames of anger that he has. It's also brought down in Paiskim, Del Yerabah, Shemir Amunim, that the Mekubalim state that when one feels angry, he should lift up his tzitzis until the anger subsides. So with all the many different tactics that we use to diffuse anger, one of them is simply to hold the tzitzis, wait until the anger leaves. Other Segulos that we find regarding looking or touching the tzitzis. The Sefer Kavayasha, written in the 1700s, writes that looking at the tzitzis and touching them elevates the Shechina which is found in Galus and separates the darkness which resides between us and the Shechina. Reb Aaron of Kalin writes that looking at the tzitzis arouses one to have fear of heaven, Yirah Shamayim. It's brought in the name of the Arizal that looking at one's tzitzis is a Segula for Parnasa. It's brought in the name of the Chayzim Lublin that looking at one's tzitzis is a Segula for Refuah to be healed from an illness. Chassam Sefer Pasha Shlach writes looking at one's tzitzis is a Segula for memory. You want to remember halach, you want to remember something that you learned, you look at your tzitzis when you're learning it. In conclusion, the Arizal writes in Shara Kavanis that looking at the tzitzis at every moment is a great benefit for the soul, adds holiness to the person, and refrains one from the approach of sin. Thus, we now know that when we wear tzitzis, it's not just enough for us to fulfill the mitzvah of wearing a four-cornered garment with fringes, but that we're carrying with us a very powerful tool that has all of these Segulos associated with it, as brought in the Paiskim and in the Sfarim.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.